Good morning, students. I welcome all my dear students to watch my presentation on a poem in your Beehive book. And the name of the poem is On Killing a Tree by G.F. Patel. G.F. Patel was born on 18th of August 1940. He is an Indian poet, a playwright, a painter, as well as a doctor. He belongs to a group of writers who have subscribed themselves to the Green Movement, in which is involved in an effort to protect the environment. Now he lives in Mumbai and practices medicine as well. He writes poems and plays in English, and his poems appeared in the Illustrated Weekly of India. So this is the best known poem of G.F. Patel. The poet considers the trees as a living organism. So it has the right to live like any other creature. But it is the man who kills it with utmost cruelty. Thus the poet has all sympathy for the tree. He admires its determination and its immense strength to live on. Before I start reading the poem, let me discuss with you the importance of trees in our environment. It is known to all of you that trees play a very important role in our environment. As we all know that trees bring rain, and without trees there will be no rain, and if there is no rain, the adverse it will create an adverse impact on agriculture as well as on the farmers. Less amount of rainfall leads to major decline in food production. Do you think that killing of trees result in a climate change? Yes, you are correct. Everything about our life tied to the climate such as food, production, water supplies, health and the well-being, etc. Due to the cutting down of the trees, water cycle is also disturbed. In water cycle, there are only a few processes that gives back to the atmosphere, such as transpiration, expiration and evaporation. So if trees are killed, there will be less of water returning in the atmosphere. So what are the after effects of killing trees? It has been noticed that trees are used as fuel or timber while the cleared land is used for settlement. The removal of trees without sufficient reforestation has resulted in damage to habitat and biodiversity laws as well. You all know that it can also cause soil erosion and it can also affect the water cycle as well. So the poem in a way inspires all of us to plant more trees, not to cut trees, to protect trees, not to waste papers, and it also suggests man to be away from the forest so that they are not being able to harm the trees in the forest. We should promote deforestation under any circumstances, and we should celebrate Vana Mahotsava in a grand manner. So there are two very important movements that happened in India to save the trees. One is Chipko movement. I think you have all heard the name of this movement, Chipko movement. And another one is Raksha Sutra movement. So the people of Uttarakhand hills, the hills of Uttar Pradesh, they have started this program to protect the trees. They wanted to stop the people from cutting down of the trees. Another movement which was also very important and well known, the name of this movement was Chipko movement. Chipko movement was started by Sundarlal Bahuguna. This was the first initiated by Amrita Devi while protesting against a kingsman to cut the tree. This movement inspired the people after they used to hug the trees to protect them from being fallen. So this way they used to hug the trees, they used to embrace the trees so that people cannot cut these trees. So the poet in his poem on killing a tree is explaining very vividly, very clearly the process of destruction of nature. He is emphasizing the consequence that we will eventually face if we continue to cut down the trees in this manner. Now let's start reading the poem. It takes much time to kill a tree. Not a simple jab of the knife will do it. It has grown slowly, consuming the earth, rising out of it, feeding upon its crust, absorbing years of sunlight, air, water, and out of its leprous hide, sprouting leaves. So in this first stanza, the poet is telling the human beings that it is not very easy to kill a tree. A simple jab of the knife will not be adequate to destroy a full-grown tree that has absorbed nutrition from the earth very slowly. Jab means poke roughly or quickly with a sharp instrument. So jab means poke roughly or quickly with a sharp instrument. Consuming means absorbing. So the poet is telling that it takes a long time to kill a tree that has been nurtured and protected for so many years by Mother Earth. It grows big and strong. Therefore, it is not easy to kill it by making a simple jab on it with a knife. The tree rises out of the earth and feeds upon its crust. As it grows through the years, it absorbs sunlight, air, and water. The poet is here personifying the bark of the tree by calling it a leprous hide. So here hide means skin and leprous is referred to a skin of leprosy patient. Here it means the bark of a tree. So the leaves are seen to be growing on its branches that have several layers of tough and protective shield, also called the bark of the tree. Now let me read the second stanza. So hack and chop, but this alone won't do it. Not so much pain will do it. The bleeding bark will heal, and from close to the ground will rise curled green twigs, miniature buffs, which if unchecked will expand again to former size. So the poet here says that not just hacking. Hack means cut with rough, heavy blows. And what is the meaning of chop? Cut into pieces with repeated sharp blows. But this alone won't do it. So the poet here says that just by hacking or chopping or putting it through a lot of pain is not adequate to kill a tree. It's not enough to kill a tree. Not so much pain will do it. Means he will endure this much of pain also he will endure. If you give him this much of pain, that pain will also be endured by the tree. The bleeding bark will heal. Here the bleeding bark means the twigs which are cut mercilessly by the human beings. They leave a liquid substance. they ooze out, they come from there comes out a liquid substance from the tree. If any part of the human body is cut, it starts bleeding. In the same way, the liquid substance also comes out from the branch of the tree. The human beings makes it bleed. After the wicked chopping, the bleeding bark will eventually heal. The poet here says that thereafter, from the chopped remains that is close to the earth, small curled new shoots, new leaves will begin to appear again. That means from the chopped twigs, a small root of the tree, small shoot of the tree will reappear again, as you can see in the picture. He warns human beings that if this is not checked, if this is not stopped at any cost, it will grow into a big tree, back to its former size once again. If you will not cut this tree again, it will again grow up and it will again prosper into a very big tree once again. So despite the pain and the injury the woodcutter has inflicted on the tree, we human beings have inflicted on the tree, it will bleed for a while and heal in the normal course of the time. It is protected by the Mother Earth, who will ensure that healing takes place. So the Mother Earth is there to heal up the wound of the tree. Now let's read the third stanza. No, the root has to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be rubbed, tied and pulled out, snapped out or pulled out entirely out from the earth cave, and the strength of the tree exposed, the source, the white and wet, the most sensitive, hidden for years inside the earth. Students, mark over here that the poet has started this whole stanza with no, with a negative word, no. So the poet begins the third stanza with no, because he has ended the previous stanza with a warning that if the cutting down of the trees, if it is left unchecked, the tree will grow back again. He wants to emphasize to the cruelty of human beings that under no circumstances should he let this happen. This should not happen again. So that is why in the beginning of the stanza we can see that the poet starts the sentence with no to give emphasis that chopping or hacking of the trees will not be sufficient for killing a tree. What is the meaning of anchoring earth? Anchoring earth means that the earth protects it like a mother. Earth protects the trees, I have already told you. It protects the trees like a mother. Earth cave implies a hole inside it. So earth cave, what does earth cave mean? Earth cave means a hole inside it. The tree allows its roots to spread underneath. The earth protects it and fosters it, nurtures it. It provides all the essential nourishments to the tree. So the poet here says that no, do not let it grow. It has to be uprooted from the earth that is holding it together. He suggests the technique and says, tie up the root with a rope and pull it out of the hollow of the earth fully and completely. To take it out from the mother nature. You should take it out completely. Don't cut it. Don't just jab it with a knife. You should take it out completely from the mother earth. From the earth you should take it out completely. Then only you will be able to kill a tree. Otherwise it will again grow up. It will grow up again. So that is why you cannot chop it, you cannot cut it, because if you cut it, it will be grown up again. So you should take its root completely out from the earth. And the strength of the tree exposed, the source white and wet, the more sensitive hidden for years inside the earth. So when the root is pulled out of the earth, we are introduced to the strongest part of the tree. It is from here that the tree originates. It is the moist and the white because it is protected by Mother Earth, who has taken care of it, knowing that it is the most sensitive part of the tree. Perhaps that is why it is kept out of sight of the wicked human beings. So the roots of the trees are underneath the Mother Earth. Why? So to keep away from the wicked human beings. We human beings are very selfish. We are very wicked. So to keep us from our sight, Mother Earth has hidden all its roots inside the earth. So the stem or the root, it is the strength of a tree. Without it, a tree cannot grow up. So when the tree is pulled out, its strength is exposed. Its strength is no longer there with him anymore. Then the matter of scorching and choking in sun and air, drowning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. So after the tree is uprooted, the poet says, the next matter to be considered is how to burn it, dry it up in the sun and air. It then goes through the stages of losing its luster and becoming brown and lifeless. Its softness and tenderness is replaced by hardness. It becomes hard because it died. The unfortunate thing then crumbles and withers away into nothingness. The destruction is complete. So human beings pulled out the tree from the Mother Earth, and in the scorching and choking, and they used to dry it up in the scorching heat of the sun. It becomes brown, dry, and it gets hard, eventually dies. So On Killing a Tree is a very sensitive poem. The poet requests the reader over here not to destroy trees and not to kill it. He says that a plant takes sunlight, water, air, and many other nutrients from the soil to gradually become a huge tree. It develops a strong trunk and gets numerous leaves on it. Merely cutting the trunk of the tree does not kill it. When a tree is cut, the sap flows out just like a wounded man bleeds. Like if we cut, blood comes out from our veins. Similarly, the trees, they also get hurt because of the cutting down of the trees. Once the wound heals, new branches and very tiny leaves grow from there, which grow into trees. In order to destroy a tree, it has to be uprooted. The roots, which are white in color and are damp due to the moisture that they get from the soil, are hidden inside the earth. These roots are the most sensitive part of the tree, as they bind it to the earth. In order to kill the tree, these roots have to be detached from the soil. So once the roots are detached, the tree starts dying. It withers, dries up with the action of heat and wind, and twists and hardens and finally dies. So let us discuss the literary devices that are used in this poem. So in the first stanza, leprous hide metaphor is used. What is a metaphor? A metaphor is a figure of speech that makes an implicit or a hidden comparison between the two things which are not common. Here, leprous is used to define scaly skin caused by an infectious disease. The poet here means that the skin of the tree looks leprous, meaning rough and scaly. Bleeding bark. The second stanza, bleeding bark, it is also an example of metaphor. The poet means the sap or the fluid in a tree, which oozes out when a tree is cut down. He compares the sap to the human blood over here. Bleeding bark is also an example of alliteration. Bleeding bark, the B sound, B sound is repeated. So that is why it is an example of alliteration as well. It takes much time to kill a tree. Takes time, tree. It is also an example of alliteration. T sound is repeated over here. Personification is also used in this poem. The poet portrays the tree as a human being throughout the poem. He compares the tree just like a human being. So here it is an example of personification. Bleeding bark, the bark is bleeding just like a human being. That is also an example of personification. Imagery is also being used over here. Slowly consuming the earth, rising out. These are also examples of imagery. So let us discuss what is the message of the poem. The poem conveys the message that trees are living beings just like any other form of life. They have strong survival instincts and can withstand any type of assault, trauma, crisis, or pain. So it is not easy to kill them, for they have a never say die attitude to life. Every time they are attacked, injured, or scraped, they heal themselves and regain their glory and energy. However, if they are uprooted and left in the air and the sun, they die. We human beings must live just as trees do. So the poem presents here that deforestation leads to disaster, and the need for afforestation is implied in the poem. The poem also highlights a lot of other morals too. Firstly, it displays the destructive nature of human beings. Secondly, it shows the mother nature is inevitable and cannot be easily destroyed. Thirdly, the tree is a symbol of mankind. It says that human life is not so easy to end. If we cut the fingers or the skin, then we do not die. It is the heart that should be cut out. It is the main theme of the poem. The poem is short, but it makes a special place in our heart and in our mind. So I think students, you have enjoyed reading the poem with me today. So thank you very much.